collectively, we asked what successes and failures we had, and for my company as well as his company, creating a new website that was optimized for the use on any mobile device and any platform. Google doesn't allow the way that they change their algorithms. In case you don't know, if you have an old website that isn't suitable with your cell phone, you drop in your national rankings. So number one, most important, was that the website be optimized with optimization of words, but more importantly the platform, so that it could be used on any kind of individual device. Myself, I use Constant Contact. It's got some deep analytical stuff that I don't use, and if I chose to, I could. It tells you who looked at it, how long, where they stopped, and everything. So that's been successful for my company. Can't read my own writings. One of the gentlemen that left to go get a beer takes that a step further, and he uses a company called Lead Forensics, and they'll take that detail and they'll further drill down that detail. And on the Constant Contact, someone that were to look at it, or on the website, you can actually forensically find out which email it came from, so you can go ahead and contact that person directly. So it costs like $5 to $10 per hit. Something that he commented on was not to focus on the quantity of hits, but the quality of the hit that you get. So as you start to see your hits, going up and your lead generation going up, if you're not getting qualified leads from it. So again, the site to be optimized for devices came up the second time. I know that's critical. None of us are actively using Facebook or LinkedIn to link back to the website, but I know from the website that we just personally launched that there's a benefit to it. The more links you have and the more social media openings you have, the more easily the Google people can kind of crawl through your website and your national ranking goes up. It was commented that there's third-party sources to help maintain that, like myself. I'm doing other things, so I'm not going to spend time updating Facebook, but there's companies that do that. And then something that, what's your company again?
Premier Powder Coating.
Premier Powder Coating did, and this makes sense. I've heard this from some of our customers, is they got multiple websites that link back to their main website. So they make parts, and then they make these buddy benches that it's a separate website. So they can optimize just that buddy bench on that website, or what's the other bench you make?
Premier Site Furniture.
Yeah, so
Memorial benches.
Memorial benches. So they're getting a lot of activity from these separate sites, and I didn't think about it, but my company does the same thing. We have a shop in Mexico, and we've got a Mexico website, and they both funnel back to our main website. So he's had a lot of success with those individual websites doing that.
So the question was successful social media out of the group over here. The biggest negative probably on that is that the type of people that it was attracting was not necessarily the people they want to have business from. So somebody bringing over their lawn chair to get powder coated on social media is not necessarily who they're trying to go after. Although there was some recognition of the importance of having it. Another way that social media was being utilized was actually to notify customers and contacts about changes in capabilities or performance, and that was on the positive side. So you have increased oven capability or increased part size, then the customers are hearing about it more quickly. Just a note on some of the analytics that should be brought up, that Google Analytics is free. So you can be doing a lot of the analytic work yourself, depending on how vested you are in doing it. 3 really strong performance talked about the website. So even, would you say the antiquated website was still drawing in business, and of the new customers that are coming in, about 25% are now, it's kicked up where it was a lower percentage coming off the website. And a comment that was made was talking about, we're local, our customers are local, et cetera. And the point being, you don't know how long the design or development of that product has been in process. So putting it up and making yourself more visible from a web access standpoint, you can be attracting a designer in San Francisco to build a product in Wichita, because it doesn't really matter where they are. They're out searching for people and capabilities where the end user is. So the end user may be in your backyard. The person actually doing the research and the looking could be anywhere where those design firms could be located. They could be in Orlando or San Francisco. As far as other ways of getting out there, OEMs, track record, performance, word of mouth is probably one of the big ones that seems to be attracting more business. Education outreach programs. The example was bringing people in, these were buyers from Target. So educating them to understand so that they're getting the right pull through on the OEMs for performance. And then also participation, of course, in great associations like PCI. But PCI, CCAI, SME, and other programs, just getting a lot of marketing out because of volunteering and participating, gets recognition in more of a local market arena, and that's bringing in good potential business. And then finally, paying attention to marketing content, who is your target, and understand the research that they're doing that they're trying to find. So if you have a particular capability or process performance, then make sure you're emphasizing it correctly. I think the example we use, if you've got a 7-stage washer set up, you've got blasting set up, make sure you're getting that capability highlighted so it gets picked up in the searches.
Some things we talked about: have a good website, don't let Yellow Pages do it for you. Websites that have blogs will rank higher than those that don't, if you update them. Don't jump in over your head, start small and simple, either quarterly or monthly. The whole idea of a Facebook page, social media, don't do it. The other side of that is if your customer base is consumer oriented, go with social media. And yet there are also some pluses to that. You can actually point your blog back, put your blog back on Facebook as well. Use LinkedIn to, I think what Dave did you say, use LinkedIn to scope your customers, your competitors. Yeah. So you can do a little backdoor investigating if you want to check out your competitors. Make your website, specifically your search engine optimization, specific to target markets. Always ask how a new customer found out about you. So train your office to be able to say, hey, never heard of this customer. This is a new email comes across their inbox or a new phone call. Hey, so how did you hear about us? I don't recognize you. And get some feedback there. You can get some immediate feedback on how well your advertising is doing. Is your website mobile friendly? That came up before. And also make sure it works. Go through the exercise of going there yourself and seeing how it works. This also came up: use Instagram account and link it to your website, and use a plugin for a WordPress page. And also, apparently, Yelp is growing in business reviews. So we're hearing about that, and if you want to check that out and what opportunities there are with that.
Right, well, the resounding one was to have some recognition for the employees. For example, if any manager or supervisor observed an employee doing a good deed or something positive, they could give them a little business card, a little 3x5 business card, and after that person accumulated 10 of those things, they go to the HR department and turn it in for a prize. Hours off of work, leave early, lunch with the bosses, and they've had positive reinforcement from that. This I know from my own company, and that is positive reinforcement from ownership. You know, be on the floor with the people, be in the trenches, make some comments, good. Try to keep it on the positive side. Be engaged in the operation. A couple different people did newsletters that they posted quarterly to keep the people engaged in the operation as to what was happening currently and what they're working on towards the future. Retainment bonuses. One of the people at the table gives $100 after they've been there for 5 years. $200 for 10 years, $500 for 15 years, and $1,000 for 20 years. In Michigan, and there's a company called Quasar we do work for, and when a person's been there 20 years, they get a Rolex, and I know it's a big deal for the people. It's a small shop, maybe 60 people, and they've got about 10 people with Rolexes. So, insurance premiums, scaled payments on insurance premiums was something that they did. They started off paying 50%. And then every year that they were there, it would notch up to where the employer would pay 100%. 401k matches, monthly luncheons for the employees, programs for getting shirts and hats and boots for the people, and then a pay for gains incentive, something that we've done as well at my shop, and that is when they exceed a quota for a specific amount of time, share some of the profits with them.
The main thing by far, just to reiterate, recognition. And we were kind of joking, recognition comes in a lot of different ways. It doesn't necessarily, in fact, cash is always good for the employee, but it's gone the day they spend it. So other types of recognition, getting them up in front of people and telling them why they're recognized, because then other people talk to them and it lasts longer. I mean, it's a feeling of goodwill. Other people want to be recognized, so sometimes that shares off and that creates, kind of a nice atmosphere. And then the other thing was, aside from the quarterly luncheons and everything else, doing any types of events that allow more of a kind of a family atmosphere of participation, because people want to be a part of that and they want to share that experience with the other employees. And then overwhelmingly, the challenge is not necessarily retention, because I think everybody's got a lot of good programs. They pay attention when they get somebody good, they latch onto them. It's finding them. So the real challenge that we were seeing is more, how do you find the people as opposed to retaining them? Once you get them, you can typically hold on to them if they're the right people, but finding them.
Very similar. Employee engagement is a top priority. Having employees buying into the vision and then pay them well. Very simple. Get them to be a part of the vision and pay them well to keep them. Build a strong culture and continue to talk about what is important. And this is something I chipped in, so I get to add a little bit to it. One of the things that I found out from my experience is that from my role, what I talk about is important. So I better be talking about what is important. So what is important? And to be able to continue to focus on those important things that are important within our business and get everybody to buy into that vision and within that culture, it makes a world of difference. Celebrate your wins intentionally. And we had a couple different stories at our table of what people do just to celebrate the victories that they have. Continue to focus on the good things, the important things, the things that go well, the things that make us feel good. We want to make this feel like a great place to work. And so let's talk about the good things. The bad things, we'll have to deal with them. But let's not make them bigger than the good things. Pizza party at the end of every month. Get in a routine of having a luncheon. So it's something that the employees can expect and look forward to. This came up again, build a work family. Let them be a part of the family. Get the spouses and their families thinking that their spouse or parent works at a great shop. Bring customer feedback to the floor. Bring finished goods or pictures of finished goods back to the employees. And get them to see what the difference that they're making. And thank you, Chris, for sharing that. It reminded me one time I wanted to be able to impart, Simon Sinek wrote a book, Start With Why, and I wanted to be able to impart to them, why are they doing what they're doing? And so I wrote a little bit of a paragraph on what each employee did that day. And basically I took the products that we were finishing and I incorporated that into how somebody uses that product and said, today you did this. So if we were creating a park bench, I said, today you gave somebody a place to sit in a park. And we could snow guards, and I said, today you prevented snow from falling on somebody's head. And so a very real way that they could actually see the difference that they were making each and every day that they come to work.
This one, I think we can all say, don't deviate from your maintenance schedule. When you're busy and parts have to get out the door, don't not do your maintenance. Your hooks get dirty, your washer gets plugged. Don't not do your maintenance. Perform time studies. Validate your estimated throughput versus your actual throughput. Track and measure that. Share those findings with the employees. Eliminate the phone use on the floor. No electronic devices on the floor. Flexibility. Leo brought this point up, and it's something that we have a hard time with. So you're in the middle of a big run, you've got a couple of hook gap, and you've got a part that you can fit in there with the same color. Be flexible. Try to get that thing crammed in between other parts. And then get the employees on the floor engaged in the process, share the results with them, positive and or negative.
Dig into the customers that you have, look at them and try and take an objective look at weeding out the ones that are ripping off your production, so to speak. So in other words, if you've got products in there that are eating up a bunch of time, either figure out how to deal with them differently or change the scheduling or eliminate them. Communicate with the customers. I think the term that would you use, Shivy, to look into the dark corners?
Right.
But talking with the customers to help fix the problems. One of the examples was they ship in a bunch of metal parts all stacked together. After they're finished, they're going to have to be stacked and packaged differently. So where are the other 3 skids that you need? And so how are you going to manage that product so you don't have a slowdown going through that? So communication with the customers, and that extended to like even the driver when he sees that the van's full or how it's packed. So get them involved rather than just sleeping up front waiting for somebody to bang on the side of the door, it's time to go. Moving products that affect your production to the other end of production. So as an example, if you got a long or big parts, big mass, long cool down, can you move those to the end of second shift? That way they're cooled down in the morning when you come in, doesn't take away from production. Package management. looking at how the parts are packaged, stored, taken off the line, and put on the line. Can you make that similar so you can improve the productivity? Is there possibilities to invest in equipment and looking at things like color change time, material management, process throughput, and analyzing, this goes back to the time study that was already mentioned, but looking from one end of the process to the other and making sure that you're taking advantage of the current technologies that are out there. In other words, if you're working with, the example was an older shop, it may be a good shop, there's nothing wrong with it, but materials have changed, cure times have changed, cycles and process handling have changed, so what do you have in place to take advantage of that and improve your productivity? Take a real hard look at where the potential bottlenecks are. We had an example, you buy a new press or you buy a new piece of equipment and your welder can't keep up or your painter can't keep up or whatever, so you've got a bottleneck. Potentially hiring consultants to look at time study, everything from employees to shop setup and lean implementation. In other words, taking a look at having the right products and tools and materials in the right places and ensuring that they stay there so that when they're needed, you're not walking around the plant hunting for products. Be consistent, productivity consistent. If you're varying things frequently, you're also varying how people do things, and you run the risk of doing it wrong. And that goes to the last point, which is to spend all of your time or the majority of your time on the front end, so you do it right the first time, you don't have to recode it. Because we all agreed unanimously, a recode is at least 3 times the cost of the original product.
Start by tracking it. Know what pieces per minute are quoted. Set the goal to beat the quote. It's a very simple way. Educate the employees on the value of throughput and increasing throughput. Consistency with setting the length of the color change at the variable speed. So the one example that Dave shared is they had employees that would count the number of load bars, for example, or hangers that they would have. Now, depending on the job they were running, the line speed might vary from anywhere from 3 to 6, for example. Well, if they were always counting a fixed length, that color change could really grow or really shrink. And so there's a lot of wasted time that they change the color, now they're waiting for the parts to get there because the line speed changed. So being intentional about getting a good minute for a color change rather than just a length. And that's some of the more consistency that Chris was talking about. Be consistent. Communicate clear expectations to the employees about what's expected for throughput. Build trust across roles so that there's not redundancy between somebody running around and checking why I wasn't sure if they did right. I'm going to go check what they're doing. I'm going to go check what they're doing. People moving out of place. That doesn't help with efficiency. Another idea came up, a SWAT team to help when jobs need more labor. So, for example, here's a job that needs a lot more labor to either load it or unload it. We have people in an area, or in a given area, or in a given team that we can pull in to add to the current team so we can continue to be efficient. Share and move people where they're needed. So we don't need as many people here, but we could use them over there. Yep, cross-training is an important one. The biggest thing that came up, part density. Finding ways to continue to increase density for the rate at which the line is already going, or in a batch system, multiple coders in a batch booth, and start them at different areas and working so they don't end up shooting powder in the other guy's face.
One note was to get the employees involved in the process when they hear something out of the norm, a bearing making noise, a fan squealing, the belt or something, empower that employee to go to the supervisor, reward that supervisor or reward that employee if he does and makes a comment and something's fixed before it should cost the line to go down. Sharing some expense, request or ask for people's input on ideas that can potentially prevent some downtime or increase throughput. Save some of that money and give it back to them. My shop, we did this 10% savings program, so if you gave an idea and it was implemented and it saved money or it prevented something, 10% of that savings went back to the employee.
So everybody was talking about in terms of maintenance or preventive maintenance and troubleshooting, the biggest thing was schedule forms for all equipment. Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever that may be appropriate to the equipment. One of the things was having a folder or identification for the equipment at each department. Talked about having a shift supervisor was the designated hitter. In other words, one individual that was responsible to ensure that the checklist had been done. So basically a kind of a walkthrough mentality or a catch up. And that varied whether it was being done, it's being done daily, but whether it was being checked daily, it's more random, it could be weekly, but going through just to make sure that it's being done. Front end of each shift, again, checklist by department. And then probably as important is if that individual has put their name on it, pushed the button and said, yeah, it's been checked, and then it fails. Obviously it wasn't done. I mean, if it's obvious that it wasn't done, pretty stiff negative recognition, reprimand for not getting that done so that people are paying attention to it. Getting the vendors involved to develop lists and also to provide retraining in the specific areas, whether that's working on titration or oven management or booth or whatever, and retain them to do that periodically to keep everybody up to speed. And double checking and verifying that you have the right inventory for wear components and replacement parts so that when you do have a failure, you have the belt, the bearing, the wear part, etc. And the comment there was actually shitty. I think you were talking about on the back of the checklist, they actually have an short inventory list to actually check to make sure that the parts are there. So they have the ability to check or verify the inventory. One of the other things we were talking about, because you guys are working on, is a kind of a Kanban style or something where if a part was taken, it's the last one, they throw a red card, something that's a flag that that part needs to be replaced so that you have them when you do need them.
Keep parts on the shelf. Buy similar things, parts, equipment. Don't get, I know probably the Gehman and Nordson guys will always fight over this, but get all the same gun. Get the production crews to do some of the daily maintenance. So whether it's maintaining the washers, cleaning the oven, some simple things like that. Keep probably the more pivotal and important stuff to a trained maintenance person. iAuditor, and this is an app. It allows you to build a checklist and take a picture of any issue and email it, and then you have a record of it. Also, have a list of your suppliers with contact information so that when something happens, you're not around, or if you are, you have that list nearby. You can call your suppliers if there's an issue to get resolved.